has already been medically cleared to return from his quad injury, but according to ESPN, he has opted not to return to the lineup. Kawhi has only played 9 games this season, but the Spurs are still the 3rd seed in the West. Yesterday, Greg Popovich talked about Kawhi's status. Let's take a listen.
We only have X number of games left in the season, and he's still not ready to go. And if by some chance he is, it's going to be pretty late into the season, and it's going to be a tough decision. How late you bring somebody back. So that's why I'm just trying to be honest and logical. I'll be surprised if he gets back this year.
Shannon, what's going on here?
Skip, I got a funny feeling this is not going to end well for your Spurs. I believe that Kawhi doesn't think he's healthy. And I know what the doctors, the Spurs team doctors have told him, and I know he's gone to specialists, and it was reported that he went and saw another specialist a couple of days ago.
No, same.
The same?
Same. Keep going.
Skip, it's hard for me to believe. I mean, because he's so quiet, you don't get anything. Well, I spoke to some people in this camp, or I spoke to some people around Kawhi, and this is what's going on. You don't hear that. So it's really hard to tell about him, Skip, because, he just sit there and he's just like so stoic. But it's hard for me to believe that this young man isn't hurt. And I get it, the MRIs and ultrasound and whatever he's had on this quadricep tendon or whatever's going on, something's not right, Skip, and this is not going to end well. Now, he has 1 year left on that contract. They can offer him $219 this summer. But I don't think money, could it be money? Does he just want out of San Antonio? Does he want to get to a bigger market so he could, the claw should, this claw thing, Skip? I don't know, but Skip, something's not right here. And the Spurs, you read how great their team doctors are and how this relationship with the Spurs front office and the players is great.
Yep.
We've never seen anything like this.
Never.
The greats for the Spurs, go back to David Robinson and Tim Duncan and Tony Parker and Ginobili, and here come Kawhi. Kawhi was that bridge from all-time great, like Robinson and Duncan, and now we got Kawhi. He was going to take them on to the future. But Skip, man, this man's got to be hurt, Skip. I don't believe he's faking it. I just don't. I can't. And I know it's frustrating for the Spurs because they're looking like, well, hold on. Dude, we've done sent you all around the world. We've gotten every image. We've talked to the specialists on top of specialists, and they say they can find nothing wrong. But at the end of the day, Skip, he's got to do it. I remember when I broke my collarbone, and the Broncos didn't put me on IR, Skip, and so I was running on the treadmill, and I'm trying to get back, and I heard a crunch. And, the Broncos team doctor told me everything was okay. I called my agent. I flew somewhere else. They told me it was okay. Okay, I'm not playing. I'm not going back out there. Not when I felt that crunch. They told me it was okay, but I felt a crunch. I know what I felt. I know what the imaging is saying, but that's not what he's feeling. And at the end of the day, Kawhi's got to do what's in the best interest of Kawhi. Maybe it's degeneration of that tendon. Maybe it's something that the images can't pick up. But Skip, knowing, like I said, just looking at him, it's hard for me to believe that this man is healthy and he's just choosing not to play. I just can't believe that.
So, in my lengthy career, I have never run up against a story that so confounded me, so baffled me, so tore me apart as a Spurs fan, so mixed my emotions, because I love Kawhi Leonard. I love everything about his character, his intangibles, his work ethic. No Spur works harder than Kawhi. No Spur toes the party company line better than Kawhi, because as you say, he never has a word to say to anybody. He just shows up for practice, practices hard, gets up extra shots until now. And this has fallen completely apart. And I have talked to numerous people last night who are very close to and inside this story, and they all agree on only one thing, and it's what you just said. This is heading toward divorce. The bridge is on fire, and it might just burn all the way to the ground. And the painful irony for me is this is the model franchise, maybe it could be even beyond Patriots. I know they're compared to the Patriots, and they've sort of observed each other.
Yes.
But these are the Patriots of the NBA.
Yes, absolutely.
And this is the organization in sports best known for conservative approach to injury. This organization has the most patience with injury of any organization in baseball, football, or basketball, or hockey. Throw them any of them.
Skip, you remember they got fined because he sent Tony Parker, Tim Duncan, and Ginobili. He sent them home.
Sent them home.
David Stern said, you can't do that.
On Southwest Airlines, he sent them home. Yeah, he just said, you guys just
take a rest.
Yeah.
You know, he rests anybody at any given time.
So we hit bottom yesterday, obviously, because while Kawhi has just about had enough of the Spurs, yesterday Coach Popovich showed you he's just about had enough of Kawhi, because he basically said, you know what, hell with him. As much as he has loved Kawhi Leonard, he said hell with him. We got to go onward and upward without him, because clearly he just is not choosing to come back. So they haven't pushed him at all. And yet, before I get into the details of this, I've told you before in my career, and you could have used this in your locker room sometime too, because how many times did you wonder about a teammate who said, I can't go today?
Oh, yeah.
How many times did Shannon Sharp say in his head, I'd go with that?
Yeah.
I'd suck it up and play with that.
Or I would take an injection and go with that.
Or go with that. That's
some
correct.
guys like, nah, I ain't taking no shot. I ain't doing that. I'm like,
so I know this is hypothetical, dream world kind of stuff, but I've always wished I could have this machine as a reporter, you know, where I could hook into this machine and for 5 minutes I could feel what your injury felt like.
Right.
And I could jump on it for a while. If your quad's hurt, I'm going to jump. I'm going to try to jump 10 straight times on it and see how it feels after 10 straight jumps. And maybe I'd sit back and say, come on, you can deal with that, right?
Right.
I don't have that machine. You don't have it, so I can't get inside Kawhi's head, nor can the Spurs. All they know is that their medical staff that they implicitly trust and their training staff concluded he is cleared to play.
Right.
We find no structural damage to the knee or the hip.
Right.
We can't, through MRI, find any glaring issue in the tendons that attach at the knee.
Right.
But when Kawhi has gone for the second opinions, yes, they have found some issue with the tendon at the connection to the knee. He did take a knee in the thigh. He had what you'd call a thigh contusion that could have led to this if you kept playing on it. And some believe that the ankle sprain, thanks to Zaza Pacheep shot, was so severe on the left side, this is on the right side, that when it never quite healed, that he came back to camp and he's kind of a little out of balance, and then this happened.
Well, Skip, you know, he actually hurt that ankle against the Rockets.
He did. And then it really went.
Right.
Yes, because he'd missed the game 6. Okay, so then it went completely over the edge, and maybe it never healed. I don't know. But now we're getting into minute, fine line. What's going on? There's no fracture. There's nothing, you know, again, no structural. But there is some weakness in his right thigh, his quadriceps.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So that's what the outside people think. The inside people say, nope. And Kawhi has rebelled at their rehab methods, how they have prescribed, let's do this to make it stronger. He doesn't like it because he says this, whatever this is hurting it more. So he would play a game and then wake up the next morning and say, it's aching again. It's back. And they'd say, okay, let's try this to rehab. And he'd say, that makes it hurt worse. Well, they've only had Tim Duncan and David Robinson and Manu Ginobili, and so they've been pretty good, you know? And they've kept everybody pretty much afloat by keeping them low minutes, 30 minutes a game. So he has managed now, Kawhi Leonard, to play 9 games this year so far.
Right.
He makes $19 million. So if you are running the organization, you're doing the math and you're saying, it's looking like you're making about $2 million a game for us so far this year, and that's how it might end up.
Right.
That you're going to make 9 games, 19 million,
Yeah.
2 million, 2.1 million a game. Well, that doesn't sit well with the owner. You know, like at some point the owner's saying, wait a second, I pay our doctors and our trainers to tell me their bottom line truth. What do they see?
Right.
They see cleared to play. Externally, he goes to others in New York, and they say, you know, this could be, you know, it's gone so far as that one doctor said, hey, it could require some sort of cleanup surgery. Maybe this is like a 10% chance. So now they're at odds, and Kawhi, whose manager and agent is now his uncle, which is shaky sometimes because you're too close,
Right.
you know?
Right.
Okay, so that's who is advising him.
Right.
His uncle is advising him, and that scares the Spurs even worse. So now the model franchise has lost a player, and this, I'm not exaggerating this. There are those in the executive offices of the San Antonio Spurs right now that would tell you that Kawhi Leonard is on path to have a greater impact in his career than Tim Duncan. If he could stay healthy for 10 more years, because he can obviously guard the best player. He can try to guard LeBron. He can try to name James
KD
Harden,
or
whoever it is.
Right.
He can take on, because he's 6'7", so he can guard a little bigger or he can guard a little smaller.
And we've seen it. He
Okay.
got from LeBron to KD to Steph Curry to Kyrie Irving.
Yep.
So he can do it all. He has no weakness, Skip. But let me ask you this, Skip. Do you think there's some distrust because of the ankle injury? Because he tried to play through it, he fought through it, and he's like, you know what, I'm in this situation because of trying to play through this ankle.
But they didn't make him play. Like Pop said after Golden State was over, he said, hey, if we'd been in dire straits, like, remember that was just game one, that I would ask him, if that was game 7 coming up, I would ask him to play in game 7. Like there was some thought that he could have played in game 2.
Right.
But then after they got blown out, they had already lost game 1, they got blown out in game 2, and then they just sort of chunked it, you know, and said, don't worry about it.
It just, for me, like I said, it's just hard for me to believe a player of Kawhi's talent will say, you know what, I'm just going to sit this one out. And especially, because here's the thing, Skip, if they move on, they're never getting equal value from him. For him. And that's what happens. When you trade a superstar, you don't get equal value.
And remember how they acquired him, because now George Hill is coming back prominent now into play as LeBron's new running mate in the backcourt.
Right.
They effectively, R.C. Buford, the best GM in pro basketball, effectively traded George Hill for the pick from Larry Bird, Indiana, with which he took Kawhi Leonard. So he effectively traded George Hill, who is now bounced around from Utah to Sacramento to Cleveland. Indiana. Well, I mean, he went Indiana. Yeah. So, but he effectively traded George Hill straight up for Kawhi Leonard. Was that not maybe the trade of the last 2 centuries?
That was a heck of a trade. It's just, Skip, it's not going to end well for you. I'm sorry.
It doesn't feel good to me right now. And remember, a lot of people, I'd say about 50% of the analysts that I read before the season started, including our Chris Broussard, picked Kawhi Leonard to be the MVP this year. And this happened? Over some mysterious little something with attendance?
Skip, they said he was going to miss the preseason. That's what. How do we go from missing the preseason to missing 50 games?
Maybe the whole season.
Yes.
Very strange. Next up, Carson Wentz was on the sidelines when Nick Foles led the Eagles to a Super Bowl title and was named MVP. Wentz was a candidate for the regular season MVP before tearing his ACL in December. Yesterday, Doug Peterson said a healthy Wentz would have led the Eagles to a title just like Foles did. Take a listen.
Listen, Carson Wentz was the MVP talk, of the league last year. And I truly believe if he's healthy, and I still feel strongly that we're probably in the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl with Carson Wentz, and he's the MVP. I mean, I just think that's just the way he played last year, and he's a big reason. He's not the only reason, but he's a big reason why we were, I believe, 11-2 at the time, playing the Rams and won the NFC East, it's for me, being a former quarterback, to have 2 guys really 3 guys. I mean, throw Nate in there, but you're talking about Nick and Carson, who you just don't bat an eye with either one of these guys. The way they prepare, the way they study, their demeanor on the field, their leadership styles. I mean, it's just it's a blessing to have 2 veteran guys like that, and now have an MVP, a Super Bowl MVP as your backup.
Shannon, do you agree with Peterson?
Yep. Sure do.
I'm shocked.
Because I'll walk it to him. He was in the MVP discussion. I firmly believe, you believe it too, he would have been the MVP.
I don't believe that.
And not only would they have won the game, they would have been favored. That's the only reason the Eagles weren't favored in the Super Bowl, because they had Foles in who was a backup at the time.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Do you seriously believe Carson Wentz would have been favored over Tom Brady?
Yeah, we'd have been favored.
Not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were underdogs in all 3. Let me ask you a question. Do you think they'd have been underdogs to Atlanta, underdogs to Minnesota, had Carson Wentz been in the ballgame?
Nope.
Okay, then.
I do not.
So I believe. So what you're trying to tell me, you believe Nick Foles is a little better than Carson Wentz. I don't think you really believe that.
I think he played better than Carson Wentz would have played.
Carson Wentz had 4 games this year in which he threw 4 touchdown passes. 4 of those.
Were those playoff games?
No. But
How many playoff games has he played in his career?
We got him the number 1 seed. On walking to him. We just
Wait, who closed the deal at the Rams that day? Wait, the backup did.
We got him to toss, and we tossed a touchdown on the torn ACL.
Huh.
And an LCL. Tossed a touchdown.
Wow.
And we backed up. I said, I know he hurt, but go on and throw this touchdown and leave that memory in their mind. Because that's the last thing I remember. That's in my mind. When I lay my head on my pillow at night, Joe, I just see that touchdown. Fall spinning. Touchdown. But anyway, Skip Bayless.
I thought you just saw LeBron.
No, stop.
Missing a last-second shot.
No, you saw that step back against Minnesota.
Yeah, I saw that.
Skip. Did you see what Nick Foles did to Coach Belichick's defense?
Did I?
Yeah. So you saw it.
I
so
did.
What
I
you think
was going to ask you if you saw it.
What you think walking to him would have done?
He would have done less.
No.
That's all I know. He would have thrown a couple picks.
Maybe the game would have looked differently because they did a lot of what Nick Foles really does well, and I get that. But Carson Wentz can make those plays with his legs too, Skip. There's no doubt in my mind that had Wentz been in this ball game, they win. I mean, I know we're speaking hypothetically because had we lost, we'd say, well, I don't. You said I don't believe he'd have won, but I do. I do because I believe Wentz is a better quarterback than Nick Foles, who had 2 of the greatest games in playoff history, and he had them back to back. I mean, nobody thought he could do it. I mean, I expected him to win against Minnesota, and I said, well, if he plays like he did against Minnesota, they'll beat the Vikes. I mean, they'll beat the Patriots. But Skip, I didn't think he played. He played better in a bigger game against Tom Brady.
He did.
So yes, a feather in his cap. So Nick Foles will always be a hero to me. But walking to him wins. Yeah. But walking to him.
Even though you picked the Patriots to win?
Yeah. I like
Nick
both.
Foles is going to be a hero.
Hero!
He completely discredited your MVP argument for Carson Wentz.
There ain't no system.
He did.
Ain't no system.
Ain't no system.
No.
Look
the
what
system
he
is
did.
walking to him. That's why we moved heaven and earth to get him. Why you think the Eagles traded all those picks to get him, Skip?
Well, which is precisely why. What is Doug Peterson going to say when he's asked? Is he going to say, you know what, Nick Foles is better than the guy that we spent all those draft picks to trade all the way up to the number 2 pick to take Carson Wentz? He's not going to say that. He can't say that. But trust me, when he puts his head on the pillow at night and he tries to go to sleep, he probably can't go to sleep right now because Nick Foles created a dilemma for him.
It is a dilemma.
A
dilemma is 2 equally perplexing situations. And the reason why he can't sleep at night, because he got that Lombardi. That thing is hard. Laying up in his head. Like, I kicked Coach Belichick.
So he's sleeping on
but,
Lombardi.
Yes.
Okay. The problem is that Nick Foles took it up a level from what Carson Wentz had done. Carson Wentz was terrific up to 11-2, but they'd played no money games yet. They hadn't played any playoff games. They hadn't played any do or dies. And all of a sudden, Nick Foles played, and again, you're right about this. This is all hypothetical, and there's no answer to this except what I believe versus what you pretend to believe.
I believe
you don't really believe
the
it.
man had 33 touchdowns with 7 picks.
I just know what I saw with my eyes, and my eye test told me that Nick Foles played with a poise and an accuracy and a command I have yet to see from Carson Wentz. And I'm not saying Carson Wentz is any kind of bust. I've liked Dak Prescott a little better than Carson Wentz. Carson was terrific this year, and obviously they went out and got him 2 new receivers, and they got him 2 new running backs, and his offensive line was one of the best in the league. At least I'll say it's a top 5 offensive line.
Absolutely.
And his defense was always pretty to very good. So he had a lot of help around him, and everything was clicking and whirring right on schedule. And Doug Peterson emerged this year as just maybe the best play caller in football. So I can't argue with that part of it, but I can argue with the fact that now Doug Peterson is staring up at the ceiling at night, and he has to be asking himself this question. Was I, Doug Peterson, that great this year? Was it my system and my play calling? Because I just saw my backup quarterback take it up a whole nother level from the MVP candidate that was Carson Wentz. That's what we just saw. We saw back-to-back, arguably, the 2 greatest quarterback playoff games we've ever seen.
I agree.
The numbers are staggering. He went 54 of 76, so he completed 71%. He torched the number 1 ranked defense in Minnesota. And then he outdueled Tom Brady in a Super Bowl shootout.
With Coach Belichick. And
With-
you know what? Coach Belichick is a mastermind.
He's a master. He used to be.
Don't do this, Skip.
Well,
Why you do that?
He
The
gave
man
up 41 points, and Malcolm Butler, of course, watched the whole game from the side.
Yeah, okay. He gave up 41 points. You take one game, all those games that Coach Belichick has coached in when he's held the team to under 30 and given Tom Brady a chance to win, because remember, it was 28-3, and they didn't let him score another point.
All right, I'll give you that. But it was also 33-32 Patriots, thanks to Tom Brady doing what he always does in the fourth quarter of Super Bowls. He brought them from behind to lead 33-32. And then what happened? Nick Foles happened to Bill Belichick's defense.
And then what happened?
Well, wait a second. That was 7 minutes worth.
Okay.
7 minutes. And what was it? 14 plays, 75 yards, thanks to Nick
then what-
Foles.
and Joy.
Well, wait a second. That put them up 38-33.
Okay. And then what happened? Did we keep the ball, or did they kick it off to you guys?
Sack fumble happened.
Okay. Hold on. Is that Coach Belichick's fault?
Nope, it was a great defensive play.
No.
Yes, it is.
I need you to lay some blame. Have the courage, like you said, go out on a limb.
Yeah.
Whose fault was it, Skip?
He made a mistake. Tom
Who is
Brady
he?
finally made a mistake. For
I
the
don't know.
first time in forever in a Super Bowl, he made a mistake.
Joy, when did that last episode of Tom vs. Time coming out? Is it? I mean, damn, I'm keep waiting. Now, I don't watch 5 episodes, Skip Bayless. They promised me that I would see episode 6. Now, I want to see it now.
It's going to open in theaters nationwide. They're going to. It's going to have theatrical
As
release.
long-
It's
I don't-
not going to be on Facebook.
I don't care what they do it.
Yeah.
All I
It's going to
need
be a
is
2.5-hour
as
special.
long as that
And it
can
might
get it-
just win an Academy Award.
as long as that confetti is raining down on Nick Foles.
Yeah, well, it is. And you just said it, on the backup quarterback that you have little to no respect for. Yesterday, you're telling me, I told you, he is worth 2 firsts and 2
That ain't
seconds.
worth no 2 first.
Thank you. There you are. So the backup quarterback did this to them?
Skip, just
Wait a
because-
second. Maybe he's a lot better than you think that
First
he
of all,
was.
Skip, just because I say the man is not worth 2 1s and 2 2s doesn't mean I don't think he has any value. And he's not that valuable. But if I'm the Eagles, I'm not, why? First of all, I'm changing my number because I don't want y'all calling me with this bull jive. Because Carson Wentz tore his ACL and his LCL, and we don't know when he's going to be fully healthy. So I'm not entertaining. Now, if you want to be dumb enough to give me 2 1s and 2 2s and measure, first of all, the team that offered that, the owner is going to fire the coach immediately. Because if you give up your 2018 first round and second round pick and 2019, you dumb.
So you're dumb to trade 2 1s and 2 2s for a quarterback who now has 63 touchdown passes to only 29 interceptions in 43 career starts. So it's not like 4 career starts. It's not just some little aberration blip on the radar screen. He's done it 43 times. He should be 4-0 in the postseason, and he's 3-1. He played well enough to be 4-0 in the postseason.
You're just looking at his last 3 games, Skip? I mean,
I'm just going eye test. You have to give in to what your eyes tell you, and your eyes tell you that one of 2 things happened. Either Nick Foles played better than Carson Wentz could ever dream of playing in those big games, or Doug Peterson's system is all-time Bill Walsh great.
Yeah.
And he's such a great play caller that he just completely destroyed your MVP argument, because the MVP should be his system, that you could just stick any old cog in there, and all of a sudden it just keeps purring right along, right?
No, that doesn't work like that.
Okay, then Nick Foles is better than you're giving him credit for.
Here's the thing, Skip. Look, in 1998, John Elway goes down with a hamstring injury.
Don't compare Bubby Brister.
I'm just saying, we scored more points, averaged more yards per game with Bubby than we did John.
Did you go win the Super Bowl with Bubby? No.
John came back.
He did.
But there's no question in my mind, we would have won the Super Bowl had John not been there. We were loaded.
You think Bubby would have gone?
We were loaded. Skip, we were loaded.
I mean, you needed Eugene Robinson to go south the night before,
I mean,
right?
look,
that happened.
He told us, move that man to your trophy over there.
Yeah, it is.
Get in the car record.
Okay.
But hold on,
Thank
Skip.
you.
We had 2,000-yard rusher in TD.
You did. And he
we had-
was your driving force.
Yes,
He
we
was.
had 2 1,000-yard receivers, and then old boy Shea, had them double-digit tubs.
big play Shea?
Well, boy Shea.
He was faking an injury in the Super Bowl.
Who
You
are you,
were
man?
exaggerating,
Man,
right?
what did I have? MCL. I'm like, Eugene Robinson got me too, see?
He did.
Yeah. I didn't call the cops on it. But Skip, you need to stop this. Why every time you try to minimize this man?
You know what? Bottom line to this is, you know, I feel sorry for Carson Wentz. Think of the pressure on him now.
Ain't no
next year.
pressure.
Ain't no pressure.
Ain't no pressure.
My God,
And guess
look what
what?
he's got to live up to get his job back.
Because guess what?
He's got to live up to the back-to-back greatest Super Bowl, playoff performance we saw from a quarterback.
That's why we got him.
That's why you got Carson Wentz?
That's why they traded all the picks. They knew what they had. And plus, he's in the NFC East.
Yeah, I can't wait.
He's the best quarterback in the NFC East.
I cannot wait for next football season because Monday after Monday, you're going to have to sit there and try to defend Carson Wentz or what's left of him.
Oh, you know they open it up on Thursday night.
Yeah.
And old Lem will be up on the center.
Well, I'm sure he will.
Maybe.
He's the man.
If that knee's healthy.
He'll
if
be
not,
fine.
we'll put Foles in there. We're paying him
We'll put Foles in there?
Skip, they're paying him $7.5 million. I mean, they giving him good money. That's good money.
Mark Cuban is under fire for a scandal in the Mavericks organization, and we'll discuss that next.